Hi, today we discuss section 6.8 onwards. This is a definition. This is another way of defining greatest common divisor. In our textbook, the GCD of two positive numbers is defined as the generator of some cyclic group. Let R and S be two positive integers. The positive generator D of the cyclic group H. In fact, this is the sum of two subgroups of Z, that is set of all n R plus M S n comma m belongs to Z. Under addition is the greatest common divisor. So this is the another way of defining greatest common divisor. We already seen that if we have H1, this is set of all NZ, that is set of all RZ, not NZ. We write this is set of all NR such that n belongs to Z, and if we write H2 is the subgroup, is the multiples of S, that is MS with M belongs to Z. Okay, if we denote this as RZ, and this is same as RZ, and this is same as SZ. These are two subgroups of Z. Then you can easily prove that this H is a H consisting of the elements NR plus MS, where n comma m belongs to Z is also a subgroup of this Z. It's a subgroup of Z. Okay. First of all, you can easily prove that this is a group. First of all, we write the closure property. If we choose an element NR plus M1S, this is an element from this, and if you choose another element, that is N2R plus M2S, then you can write it as N1 plus N2 times R plus M1 plus M2 times S. So this is also again an element of H. So H has closure property, and we can verify the identity element. If we choose n is equal to 0, m equal to 0, then 0 can be written as n r 0r plus 0s, that is also in H. And finally, if we choose any nr plus ms belongs to H, implies minus nr plus minus ms belongs to this H. This shows that H is a subgroup of Z, and we already seen that in the last class we have proved that any subgroup of this Z is of the form some NZ. So this H can be written as some DZ. That is, this H is being a subgroup of Z, then H has a positive generator, since every subgroup of Z is cyclic. So that positive generator D is defined as the GCD of R and S in the scenario. Okay, so this is the a newer way of defining greatest common divisor of two numbers. In this textbook, one more result has been given using the property of relatively prime numbers. If your R and S are relatively prime, that means GCD of R and S. Relatively prime means GCD of R and S is equal to 1. So in this case, we can say that whenever R divides SM, then this R divides M. So you must have studied this in your degree first year or second year classes, so please note this as a reference. Now we will prove theorem 6.10 that classify the structure of cyclic group. That means what are the structures of the cyclic group if it is finite or infinite. This is the structure of cyclic groups. Let G be a group with a generator A. If order of G is infinite, that is G has infinitely many elements, then G is isomorphic to Z plus. If G has finite order n, then G is isomorphic to Zn. So this is the classification of cyclic groups. So there are two types of cyclic groups. One is infinite cyclic group, that is exactly same as, or that is isomorphic to Z. As groups, this any cyclic group with infinitely many elements is same as Z. Okay, the behavior of group group theoretical behavior of this G, the infinite cyclic group, is same as Z. That is the meaning of isomorphic to Z. And if that G is cyclic group with finite number of elements, that is order of G is finite, then G is isomorphic to Zn. So the group theoretical behavior of that G is same as Zn. So we will prove this as two cases. First we will consider infinite case. G is cyclic with order of G is, that is number of elements of G is infinite. Since G is cyclic, then G and A is the generator, then G contains the elements, consists of the elements A square, A cube, etc. A minus 1, A minus 2, and so on. But we know that these elements are not distinct. Okay, are all distinct because whenever these elements are not distinct, we can get an M if A raised to N or A raised to R are all not all distinct, then you can get a positive integer M such that then there exists positive integer M such that A raised to M is equal to E, that we have discussed earlier. Because if these A raised to R's are all not all distinct, then we can get A raised to R is equal to A raised to S for some S, and if R is greater than S, then A raised to R minus S is equal to identity, then this can be taken as this M. Okay, so if we have then there exists M, sorry, this is, if this is are all A raised to are all distinct, are not all distinct, we can get M. Okay, using this fact. Okay, that means if this A raised to M not equal to E for all positive integer M, what is the expectation? Then using the contrapositive, if this not happen, then we can say that this is not true. That means there exists R and S such that or H and K such that A raised to H is equal to A raised to K, and say H is equal to say H greater than K, one of them is greater than other, then we have A raised to H into A raised to minus K equal to A raised to H minus K, which is equal to E. Okay, so this A raised to M not equal to E means we have this A raised to H cannot be equal to A raised to K. Okay, so if this is the case, we can say that this never happens. Then what is the contrapositive of this? Then you can say that contrapositive is also true, that is A raised to N are all distinct. Okay, so this is this can be say that A raised to R all distinct. Okay, then this enables us to define a new map phi from G to Z. Z is our set of all integers given by a phi of A raised to I is equal to I. Okay, so this defines a 1-1-on-2 function. We already proved that A raised to R is equal to A raised to S if and only if this A raised to M equal to for some positive integer. Okay, so we can say that this form a 1-1-on-2 function from G to Z, and this also satisfies the condition A raised to I into A raised to J equal to phi of A raised to I plus J. By definition, this is I plus J. This can be written as phi of A raised to I, sorry, phi of A raised to I plus phi of A raised to J. Okay, so this shows that the homomorphism property is also true. Then this phi can be treated as a isomorphism from G to Z. So if we have any cyclic group with infinitely many elements, so that is same as this Z. That means that is isomorphic to Z. Okay, so this proves the classification of the first case. Now we have case 2. In case 2 we deal with the finite group G is finite cycle group. G is equal to A with cardinality of G is equal to finite. If this is finite, then we have seen that there exists M greater than 0. There exists M such that M belongs to N such that A raised to M is equal to E. Okay. Now you choose. Now let N be the smallest. The smallest positive integer such that A raised to N is equal to E. Okay, if there exists at least one N belongs to N such that A raised to M E, then you can easily choose the least such N. Okay, if there exists least such N, then if any S belongs to Z, this S can be written as NQ plus R for 0 less than or equal to R less than N. Okay, as a consequence, if S belongs to Z, then you can write this as in this form with R and Q. Then what is the consequence of this? Then A raised to S can be treated as A raised to N whole raised to Q into A raised to R. Okay, now you can say that this A raised to this is A raised to R, and we can write this as in case 1 if this K 0 less than K less than H less than N and A raised to H is equal to A raised to K, then we have this A raised to H minus K equal to 0 and 0 less than H minus K less than N. Okay, so this is a contradiction. This is a contradiction because we have chosen this N as the smallest such integer. This is already discussed in previous classes. The same result has been discussed in the previous classes. Now we can write it as this is equal to we can say that thus the elements A raised to 0 that is equal to E, A raised to 1, A raised to 2, etc. all the way up to A raised to N minus 1 are all distinct. And the other elements are same as one of these elements. Okay. Now you define a map psi from G to Zn. Given by, what is the definition of this I? Given by A raised to I is equal to I. Okay, for I is equal to 0, 1, 2, etc. and minus 1. So this form a isomorphism between this G and this Zn. Okay, so this defines isomorphism from G to Zn. Therefore, G is isomorphic to Zn. So these are the classification of this is because we can verify that I left it to you to verify all these properties of isomorphism, one-oneness, one-two-ness. I will mention the homomorphism property here that is same as the previous discussion. This is psi of A plus AI into Aj is equal to I plus J. That is, this is because a power I plus J. This is same as psi of AI plus psi of A raised to J. So this defines the this proves the homomorphism property. So from that you can say that this G is isomorphic to Zn. Now we classify the finite subgroups of finite cyclic group. That means subgroups of Zn, because every finite cyclic group is isomorphic to Zn. Then we need to study Zn only because the group theoretical property of Zn and all other finite cyclic groups are the same. So we will prove that the next theorem says that the classification of classification of the subgroups of finite cyclic groups. This is the statement: let G be a cyclic group with n elements generated by A, that is G is nothing but the cyclic subgroup generated by A, and if B belongs to G, then B takes A raised to something. So this it is given that B is equal to A raised to some S. Then B generates, we know that every element generates a subgroup, a cyclic subgroup of the original group. So B generates a cyclic subgroup H, we call that as H of G containing n by D elements. This is very important. If B is equal to A raised to S, then the cyclic subgroup generated by B has exactly n by D elements, where D is the GCD of n comma S. Moreover, we will prove that the subgroup generated by A raised to S will be equal to subgroup generated by A raised to T if and only if GCD of this R with N is same as GCD of this T with N. Okay, so these two conditions are to be proved. We know that this B generates a subgroup, cyclic subgroup, and we call that as H, that is cyclic subgroup generated by B is equal to H. We will prove that the cardinality of this H is equal to n by D, that means order of H, that is order of H is equal to n by D. This is our claim. Okay, so for this we have shown that H has as many elements as the smallest positive power m of B that gives the identity. Okay, that means this H contains the elements b raised to 0, b raised to 1, etc., b raised to minus 1, etc. Since this is a finite subgroup, since G is a finite group itself, so we can say that any subgroup is finite. So in this case, this H has only finite elements. So how will you get the number of elements of H? That is the point. So for that we need to observe what is the least positive integer m such that b raised to m is equal to identity. Okay, that gives the that is the meaning of this the statement that H has as many elements as the smallest positive power m of B that gives the identity. So in our search we are searching for b raised to m is equal to E, where m is least. We are searching for that. Okay, but we know that B is equal to A raised to S and B raised to M is equal to E. So these are the two required conditions. This is if and only if B raised to this B is equal to this A raised to S, then A raised to S whole raised to M is equal to E. So this is if and only if A raised to S whole raised to M is equal to E. Okay, so this is if and only if n divides ms. Okay, because we know that in group G we can write all the elements of G. If G has n elements, we can say that the distinct elements are A raised to 0, A raised to 1, etc., A raised to n minus 1. See, these are the distinct elements. Since these using the previous theorem, we can say that these are the distinct elements. That means if you take A raised to n, that will yield E again. Okay, and etc., we have A raised to 2n is also E, etc. So all the multiples of n yield E as a power of this A. Okay, that's why we say that A raised to ms equal to E means this ms should be a multiple of n. Okay, that n divides that one, because we can obtain this E only on the multiples of this n. Okay, so we can say that this is if and only if n divides this ms. Okay, so we need to in order to find the smallest such m, we need to solve this. We need to find the smallest m such that ms is a multiple of n. Okay, so this is the idea. For that we define D is the GCD of, since this D is the GCD of n comma s, this is GCD of n comma s, we can write this as a this GCD of n comma s is defined as the positive generator of the subgroup H consisting of n multiples of n and multiples of s. Then you can easily get two integers such that u and d can be written as un plus vs. Okay, and since d divides both n and s, we may write from this d is equal to this one. From this you can write 1 is equal to u into n by d plus v into s by d, because this d divides both n and s. So you divide throughout this equation by d, then you can get 1 can be written in this form. Okay, which shows that the GCD of these two numbers, n by d and s by d. Okay, this shows that GCD of n by d and s by d is 1, because this one is the least positive integer as the linear combination of this. By definition, in our definition, we can say that this GCD is equal to GCD of these two numbers is equal to 1. Okay, now we wish to find smallest positive integer, such that in our searching we can say that we are searching for the smallest integer m, such that this n divides ms. That means this is an integer. Okay, is an integer. Okay, so this is this can be written as n by m times s by d equal to n by divided by n by d equal to integer. Okay, this is since this d divides this s and n, you can write this is integer. But we know that this n by d does not divide s by d, because GCD of those two numbers is 1. Then this in order to get this as an integer, this n by d should divide m. Okay, and we need to choose smallest such m, smallest positive integer m, such that n by d should divide m. This implies the smallest positive multiple of n by d. The m should be the smallest positive multiple of n by d, that is nothing but n is equal to n by d. Okay, because the multiples of n by d are 0 is a multiple, and the next multiple is n by d, next is 2 times n by d, 3 times n by d, etc. Among these multiples, the smallest one is n by d. Okay, so this m should be the small n by d should divide m. Okay, you write it as should divide m. Okay, that means m is the smallest positive multiple of n by d. From this set we can say that m is equal to n by d. Okay, so that means the cardinality of h is equal to this n by d. Okay, this proves the first part, and so the second part we can take the group Zn itself, because every finite cyclic group is isomorphic to Zn. So we start with Zn. We need to prove this result only for Zn. Okay, and that is we see that if d is a divisor of n, d is the divisor of n, then the cyclic subgroup d, then the cyclic subgroup d means cyclic subgroup generated by 1 raised to d, that is same as 1 plus 1 plus d times, that is cyclic subgroup generated by d of Zn had exactly n by d elements. That is what we have proved just before. This 1 raised to d of Zn, this subgroup generated by 1 raised to d has exactly n by d elements. Okay, that is because we know that using this previous argument, this h has n by d elements. That is because in this case, if d divides n, we have GCD of d comma n is equal to d itself. So we can instead of this GCD, we can take d itself if d divides n. That's why this subgroup has exactly n by d elements. Okay, and contains all positive integer and contains all positive integers m less than n such that GCD of m comma n is equal to d. That means these are the precise elements of the subgroup. Therefore, there is only one subgroup of Zn of order n by d. So this is the case of Zn, and in case of the general cyclic group, we can map that one to this A, or this A raised to 1, or the other way we can write A raised to 1 is, or A raised to I is mapped to I. This is the isomorphism. Then instead of taking D, instead of writing D, we write this is 1 raised to D, and in this case this can be written as 1 raised to I. And if we choose this symbol or this mapping, you can say that this subgroup generated by A raised to S equal to subgroup generated by A raised to T is if and only if this will be equal if and only if GCD of S comma N and GCD of T comma N are the same. Okay, so this proves theorem 6.14. Now as a consequence of the theorem, we can easily find out all the generators of a group. If this is the statement, if A is the generator of a finite cyclic group G of order n, then the other generators takes the form A raised to R, where R and N are relatively prime. That is, R comma N is equal to GCD R comma N is equal to 1. Okay, that means since this A generates G, we can write this is equal to G. Then we can say that cardinality of G is same as cardinality of the cyclic subgroup generated by A, that is equal to N. That is given, it is given that order of G is N. In this case, we need to find out the all other generators of this. Okay, so we can say that this is A raised to 1 is same as this A raised to T, such that, or we can say that this is R here. These two are, this is in fact G. This is equal to, in order to get the generators, every element of G takes this form, A raised to some R. In order to get that as a generator, that cyclic subgroup generated by A raised to R will be same as G. Okay, so this happens if and only if GCD of this N comma 1 is equal to GCD of R comma N. Okay, here this instead of S we have 1 here, and instead of T we have R here. So this, whenever this happens, we can say that these two subgroups are the same. So this is if and only if GCD of N comma 1 is 1, and this is GCD of N comma R. So which shows that this A raised to R is a generator if and only if GCD of N comma R is equal to 1. Okay, so this proves the generator of G takes the form A raised to R, where R satisfies this condition. Okay, with this we can conclude the section 6 as well as the module 1, and next class onwards we will discuss module 2. Before that you have to verify all the, or you have to go through all the examples, exercise problems of this module 1, and please come up with your doubt. After this class we can arrange some Google Meet or live interaction for doubt clearance. After that we will start the second module of this paper that deals with some permutation group. So we will elaborate on some finite non-abelian groups in the next module. Thank you.